You've probably heard people talk about what to eat before a workout and what to drink after one. But the middle of the session, the actual workout itself, usually gets skipped in that conversation. That's where intra-workout drinks come in, something you sip while you're training instead of before or after it. Let's break down what an intra-workout drink actually is, whether you actually need one, what should be in it if you do, and a couple of simple recipes you can make at home without buying a tub of powder. An intra-workout drink is anything you consume gradually during a training session, rather than all at once beforehand or afterward. Sipped steadily through your workout instead of chugged. The goal is to keep your hydration, blood sugar, and sometimes amino acid levels steady while you're actively training. Commercially, these products usually combine three things: fast digesting carbohydrates for immediate energy, electrolytes like sodium and potassium to replace what you lose through sweat, and sometimes amino acids meant to reduce muscle breakdown during longer sessions. Here's the honest question though: do you actually need one? For most gym sessions under 45 to 60 minutes, the answer is no. If you ate a reasonable meal or snack beforehand, your blood sugar and glycogen stores are generally sufficient to carry you through a normal strength or cardio session without needing to actively fuel mid-workout. Plain water covers hydration for a session that length just fine. The calculation changes for longer or more demanding sessions. Endurance training past an hour, high volume training blocks, or sessions in hot conditions with heavy sweat loss. In those situations, an intra-workout drink genuinely helps sustain performance in a way plain water doesn't, since you're losing fluid, electrolytes, and glycogen faster than a short session would burn through. So what should actually be in it if you're building your own instead of buying a commercial product? Three components cover almost everything the research points to as useful. Fast carbohydrates, something like 25 to 60 grams per hour of training from a source like fruit juice or simple sugar, gives your muscles readily available fuel. Electrolytes, sodium is the big one since it's what you lose most through sweat. A pinch of salt in your bottle covers most of this, and amino acids, optionally, which matter more for longer endurance sessions than for a typical hour in the gym. Here's a simple homemade version you can make right now. Water, a tablespoon of honey or maple syrup for the carbohydrate, and a pinch of salt for sodium, mixed in a 20 to 24 ounce bottle, and sip steadily through your session. A slightly more complete version swaps the water for coconut water, which already carries some natural electrolytes, and adds a splash of fruit juice for flavor and a bit more carbohydrate. And if you already have a plain, unflavored amino acid powder sitting in your cabinet for other reasons, a small scoop stirred into either version covers that third component without buying a dedicated intra-workout product just for this. None of these recipes require anything exotic. The entire point is that the three things your body actually needs during a long session, fluid, a bit of sugar, and a bit of sodium, are things you almost certainly already have in your kitchen right now. As for timing, a useful starting point is beginning to sip about 10 to 15 minutes into your session, then continuing in small amounts every 15 to 20 minutes rather than drinking it all at once early on. Finishing the bottle by the time your session wraps up spreads the intake across the full training window instead of front-loading it. For a 60 to 90-minute session, 16 to 24 ounces is a reasonable default for most people. Let's clear up the confusion between these three drink categories because people mix them up constantly. A pre-workout drink is about arriving at your session with energy already primed, typically consumed 30 to 60 minutes before you start. An intra-workout drink sustains that energy through a longer session while it's happening a post-workout recovery. Drink shifts the goal entirely to repair, replenishing glycogen, and supplying protein after you've finished. For a typical 45 to 60-minute strength session, most people genuinely only need the first and third of these, a reasonable pre-workout approach, and a solid recovery drink afterward. The intra-workout category is the one that's most often unnecessary for shorter, more typical training sessions. So who actually benefits most from this? Endurance athletes training past the 60 to 90 minute, whether that's running, cycling, or swimming, are the clearest use case. High-volume lifters doing extended sessions or two-a-day training also fall into this category, and anyone training in hot, humid conditions with heavy visible sweat loss benefits from the electrolyte component specifically, regardless of session length. For a typical 45-minute strength session in a climate-controlled gym, most lifters simply don't fall into any of these categories, and plain water genuinely is enough. It's worth being honest about how much of the intra-workout category is genuinely necessity versus marketing. A lot of the branded products on shelf are built and priced around endurance athletes and hardcore lifters doing multi-hour sessions, then marketed to everyone else who's doing a normal 45-minute gym visit. That doesn't mean the category is fake. The physiology behind it is real. It just means the audience who genuinely needs it is smaller than the marketing suggests. Now, let's talk about the mistakes people actually make here. Using a full intra-workout product for short, everyday gym sessions is the most common one. Effectively paying for calories your body doesn't need for that length of training. Making the drink too concentrated is another mistake, since too much sugar or salt relative to water can slow digestion and cause stomach discomfort mid-set. Drinking it all in the first 15 minutes rather than spreading it out is a third common mistake, since that front loads the fuel instead of sustaining you through the session, which is the entire point of an intra-workout approach in the first place. And skipping electrolytes entirely while training hard in heat can meaningfully affect performance and increase your cramping risk. If you'd rather buy something ready-made instead of mixing your own, that's a reasonable choice too. Look for a real carbohydrate and electrolyte profile rather than just trace amounts, and skip products loaded with proprietary blends that don't disclose actual ingredient amounts, since that makes it impossible to know whether you're getting a meaningful dose of anything. So here's the bottom line. Intra-workout drinks solve a real problem, but only for a specific kind of training session, ones that are long, intense, or happening in hot conditions with heavy sweat loss. For a typical 45 to 60-minute strength session, plain water during training paired with sensible nutrition before and after covers what most people actually need. If your training genuinely falls into that longer or more demanding category, a simple homemade mix of water, a carbohydrate source, and a pinch of salt covers the fundamentals without needing a branded product at all. If you want the full breakdown along with our guides on pre-workout and post-workout drinks, check the article linked below. And if this helped, subscribe for more evidence-based fitness breakdowns every week.